Hey Randy, you know what I hate?
Blueberry cheesecake.
No, I actually don't mind that. But being fooled.
Oh, did somebody make a fool out of you and you had to go teach them a lesson or two?
I don't know, I feel like I made a fool out of myself before, probably, right?
Mm-hmm. But it never feels good. I'll tell you that.
No, it never does. Being fooled, especially when you find out, that's the worst part, especially if it's something you've done for a while. So today, thankfully, in this quick fix, we're going to talk about how not to be fooled, episode 114. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. And today, this is going to be a short little quick fix, 10 minutes or less, where we give you some tips on how not to be fooled so no one gets fooled again and everybody can just go about their lives with confidence.
Well, it's important for a
Uh,
lot of reasons. They say that a fool and his money soon part ways. That and people want money, so if you're a fool, you're not going to have much money. As simple as that.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's a good one. It's funny too, yeah, because I think, and people let themselves get fooled by so many things and then they end up doing things they didn't mean to or don't want to or that aren't right for them. So I think this is like, it's a good topic because I think there's so much stuff trying to fool us all the time with, with information out there and trying to get our attention. So it's good to try not to be fooled. So each got three tips. I'm going to start. Um, my first one is actually that we should seek guides, not masters. So, I think a lot of people, they want to live their best life. They want to, do what's right. So they look for somebody else to follow or to, essentially kind of dictate how they should do things so that they do it the right way rather than thinking for themselves. I think this is a big problem. So you want it's okay to find guides, to find exemplary people you look up to, but don't look at them like they have the final say always, always be ready to think things through and think about it.
Well, that's a really good one on another level too. Like I remember when I was learning about real estate investing, they had these Robert Kiyosaki seminars, and it wasn't that he was actually part of it. They just licensed his name. So they were basically just scamming people. The whole weekend they
Yeah.
were telling people you got to use other people's money, rack up all this credit card debt to pay for this $50,000 course. Basically, they were fooling people because everybody was looking for a master instead of looking for a guide. Like people were looking to learn from like the highest person as opposed to just learning from someone a step or two above you, which is a really good technique for learning because the person a step or two ahead of you knows the last two steps and they can point you in the right direction and they're more accessible.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I think, yeah, because the person that's way at the top probably got their own stuff going on.
They probably don't care about you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that too.
So my first one for how not to be fooled is don't try and fool other people. It's like the golden rule.
Yeah,
But literally, if you're
yeah,
busy trying to fool other people, there's a good chance you're going to get fooled too for multiple reasons. One, because you're busy trying to pull the rug out from someone else, but
yeah.
also because whatever goes around comes around. And so I think that, you can't, what is that saying? Oh, I forget it. You can't,
Nah,
whatever. But don't fool other people, and then you won't get fooled. But if you're trying to fool other people, you're gonna get fooled yourself. Like manipulators get manipulated.
nah.
People who try and fool other people get fooled.
Well, it's funny too. I think it's a good point because I think when you're like in that mindset where you're trying to do something to other people, you naturally open yourself up to it because you make yourself, you think everyone's doing it to you. You get overly cautious and you end up being fooled yourself.
This
What
is
was
what
it?
I
Do you
was
remember?
thinking of. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. You know?
Ah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. But if you're
It's
busy
always
trying to
something
fool
to
other
something.
people, you're gonna get fooled. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's totally gonna happen. I like that one. My second one is, I think always ask questions, especially difficult questions. And I think this is important, especially I was, I was thinking particularly too when it comes to like things like, I don't know, theories out there about stuff, information, what's right. I think it's important to just constantly ask questions because, just trusting, the first thing you come across is probably not the best approach. And if you don't question things, you really have no right, of believing it or asserting it in the future. So you need to ask those questions, keep yourself curious, and that helps you, kind of get some armor against being fooled.
Well, that's a
You
great
know?
one because the answers that you find in life are totally dependent upon the questions you ask. And if you're getting
Yeah.
bad answers, you probably need to ask better questions. So that's a really good one. My next one for how not to be fooled is don't open your mouth. Most people, they just blah, 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 blah all the time. They prove how stupid they are the instant you meet them just by going on and on and on and on and on and on, trying to prove to everybody how smart they are. Meanwhile, if you keep your mouth closed, people actually don't know how foolish you are. And here's the cool thing is that once you open your mouth and people know you're a fool, well, then you're in for some trouble. But if you keep your mouth closed, then you're not going to get in that trouble because you're not an easy target. People think, "Ooh, he's not saying anything. He might be pretty smart. I better watch out."
I also like that one too, because it's like, it's like not just like, saying whatever arbitrary thing comes up in your head, but actually taking the time to think things through and choose your words carefully so that, I think it's a good practice because it's just like really about thinking carefully, right? And, sort of saying what we mean rather than just sort of participating in, nonstop conversation like people like to. So that's a good one. My last one is don't fear walking your own path. I think this is one of the probably the biggest reasons why people get fooled all the time, right? Is they're afraid of doing things on their own. They're afraid of taking responsibility. But I think, look, we're all going to make mistakes and stuff, so it's not a big deal. And if you can walk on your own path, you don't have to worry about anybody else or anything else, and you'll never be a fool because you'll always be living the life you want.
And that's a really good one too, because when you're doing what's right for you, you don't feel the time pressure, the impatience, because you have your whole entire life to do this thing because that's what's important to you. Meanwhile, if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and you got to get the new car before the next person gets the new car and the new house before the next person, then you're more apt to make mistakes and to be a fool because people know they can just sell you a false bill of goods. Which brings us to my last one, which is learn. Because the more you learn, the more you earn. And most people don't read more than a book a year. And if you read 2 books a year, you're reading 100% more than the next person. The other part that goes along with it. By reading, by learning, you're expanding your mind. And then you get into situations with other people. And there's this saying that if you don't know who the patsy is, it's probably you. Like if you're in a group of people and something's going on, like I think they talked about this in the poker movie Rounders, where like if you don't know who the fool is on the table who's going to lose all his money, it's probably you. And the same thing goes pretty much in every situation in life, where if you don't know who the fool is, guess what? It's probably you. You should probably learn a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and learning is great because I think, it keeps us curious, it keeps us engaged, and also, it really does. I mean, you can actually make decisions for yourself rather than, watching things happen and not knowing what's going on. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. All right, so there you go. That's all the tips, you guys. No one will get fooled again. Follow these. That's our quick picks. Check us out on YouTube. Like, subscribe, click notifications. It helps us out. Share with people, and listen to us on all the podcasts where we're available. A new episode coming out later this week. Until then, though, later, Andy.
Later, Danny.